Raghunath, are you ready for this?
What?
The wisdom of the sages trainings that are going on.
Where?
At the Eco Village, the Govardhan Eco Village in India.
Why?
To totally transform your life spiritually.
Who?
You, me, Radha Swami's going to be there. Other great teachers are going to be there. Lots of cool people.
How?
You go to wisdomofthesages.com/events. You find all the information there.
Haribo.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Live from Supersoul Farm, this is Wisdom of the Sages, a daily yoga podcast with your host, Raghunath, and co-host and senior educator at the Bhakti Center, New York, Kaustubha Das. Welcome to the show, everybody. Welcome to Thursday's study of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Good morning, everybody. I'm here live with Kaustubha. Isn't that fun?
Yes.
And we had all day. We just had Wisdom of the Sages meetings all day. 6 hours, not even, 7 hours, 8 hours. I thought I'd be bored. Usually I hate 1 hour meetings, but that was a fun meeting.
Yeah, I'm glad you liked it.
You keep it fun. What's up with you, man? Since I saw you last night.
I slept. I woke up.
No pillow fights. We're too exhausted for pillow fights, so we just haven't had any. Mara, what's going on in your world?
Nothing much. We have some announcements. We have a Back to Recovery group meeting at noon today.
You coming over for dinner tonight, Mara? After the...
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah? Okay, she
Not
seems
too
sort of
bad.
interested. Okay. All right.
Early. You gotta wake up this morning.
I'm a little out of it today. I just want to, everyone have one of those days for no good reason. Like, I don't want to do today. There's no good reason for that. I just don't want to do it. Well, are you going through some pain, going through some struggle, going through some hardships? No, I just don't want to do today. Woke up early. Huh? Yeah.
It's that accountability that you've been talking about.
I know. I did it. Before you even woke up, I had my accountability. I had a whole morning already. Okay, Bhagavatam, juice me up here. What do we got here?
Nuggets.
We got some nuggets. Give me some nuggets to chew on, please, Kaustubha.
I sent it to you, but did you not pull it up? I got it right here. You want to read it right here?
I'll read it from your book. It's Bruce Lee week. We're doing Bruce Lee nuggets this week. Fear not. By the way, you know,
You're out of it.
I'm a little out of it. Well, you know, I have this thing where Mara said I can't put honey in my tea this morning.
I didn't say you can't do it. You said you want to do intermittent
and then she's like,
fasting.
I bought you this ever have nut what's it called? Nut pods?
Yeah.
Worst
Nut
name
pods.
for like a non-dairy creamer, nut pods. I was like, who came up with that name? Like at a board meeting, we're gonna call it, listen to me, we're gonna call it nut pods. No. Do you even work here? But anyway, so she got me this big thing, an oversized thing of nut pods. It's like, this is great. But she's like, oh, you can't put it in your morning drink. We have this.
I
thing.
didn't say that you can't put it in your morning
You just
drink.
said it like right before the show. No nut pods.
You said that you want to do intermittent fasting. I was just pointing out that if you're committed to doing intermittent fasting, then technically you don't use sweeteners or creamers.
When am I
in
ever
your
going to
drink.
use my nut pods? Who
during
drinks
the hour
tea during the course of the day?
Okay, you two, break it up now.
I'm just a little. I think that's what I'm upset about. I can't have my nut pods.
Okay. Let's focus here.
Okay. That it's funny how that why am I off today? That's what it is. Right before the show, she's like, by the way, no nut pods or maple syrup.
By the end of the show, you're going to have your act together.
Yeah.
So hopefully more towards
I
the middle.
think I uncovered the pain in my heart. Actually, it's the nut pods. Okay, here's a Bruce Lee quote for today. I fear not the man. I hate the fact that I'm drinking tea alone is a huge step for me. Tea is like the most boring drink ever.
All right, then don't drink it.
Just lay off. Both of you guys just lay off of me. Here's the nugget. I fear not the man who has practiced 10,000 kicks once. like 10,000 different types of kick. I didn't even know there were 10,000 kicks.
Well,
But
it doesn't have to be, but it's just he's making a point.
Okay, but I fear the man who has practiced one kick 10,000 times. That was my dramatic pause.
You want to try it again?
Yes.
And
I
by
fear
the
not
way,
the.
if you don't put the microphone over here. Maybe I should hold this mic. There we go.
That's my real pet peeve.
Read it.
I fear not the man who has practiced 10,000 kicks once, but I fear the man who has practiced one kick 10,000 times.
I want to hear you connect that to bhakti, to spiritual. How do you understand that? How do you relate to that?
We're talking about focus here. We're talking about doing one thing, right? I chanted 64 rounds. I chanted 32 rounds. I chanted 16 rounds. Chant one round, one mantra. Once it means I can do so much, but if all of it's completely splayed, my mind is somewhere else while I'm doing it. You know, I can. It can be anything. When I'm eating, my focus when I'm eating, my focus when I'm cooking, my focus when I'm parenting. You know, it can just be my mind can be in other places, and I'm just not as effective. It's a huge mess. It's like from the story of the Mahabharata. You know, the Arjuna, the guru, when they were all teenagers, the guru put the wooden bird in the tree, and he said, Yudhisthira, go hit the wooden bird's eye in the tree. So Yudhisthira put up his bow, pulled it back.
What happened was okay, maybe you go ahead. Sorry.
Thank you. There'll be more on this later. Pulled back so before he shot the arrow, he said, what do you see? He said, well, I see, I see the mountains. What else do you see? Well, I see the tree. What else do you see? I see the branches. What else do you see? I see the bird. What else do you see? I see the eye, the target. He goes, okay, don't even shoot it. Step down. Duryodhana, what do you see? He goes, I focus in there. What do you see? I see the bird. What else do you see? Well, I see the branch that he's on. What else do you see? Oh, I see the eye of the bird, the target. Bring up Arjuna, his favorite pupil. Arjuna, what do you see? I see the eye of the bird. What else do you see? I see the eye of the bird. Arjuna, what else do you see there? Maharaj, I see the eye of the bird. Then shoot that arrow, Arjuna. Shoot that arrow.
Thank you for today's dramatic reading from Bhagavatam. Yeah. Okay. Well, what you're saying, actually, I have another nugget here from Bruce Lee. And what you're saying, it seems to even be more like appropriate for this one. This is Bruce Lee. The successful warrior is the average man with laser-like focus.
Starve distractions.
But with the first one, I fear not the man who has practiced 10,000 kicks once, but I fear the man who has practiced one kick 10,000 times. To me, that has more to do with certainly focus. But in other words, there's a similar saying that comes more from the yoga tradition that says, if you're trying to dig a well, you don't dig shallow in 100 places. You dig deep in one place. Right?
We don't go wide. We don't go wide. We go deep.
That's right. You don't go wide. You go deep.
Starve your distractions. Feed your focus.
Okay. And so here the idea is that, we might dabble in so many different spiritual teachings. We may read all different kind of books. We may, I think that's natural for people. They could, in New York, they would go to those bookstores like East West Books back in our day, right? Now you have the internet, but you're reading all these different spiritual traditions, and they're interesting and they're fascinating. There is wisdom in them that you can learn so much. But when it comes to practice, at a certain point, you say, I got to focus on one path and actually walk that path. Right? Walk it for real.
It's one of the deterrents in bhakti. When I first read this, I was like, what?
Reading
right?
too many books?
Reading too many books what is that from? The Nectar Devotion?
Yeah, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu by Rupa Goswami.
And when I first read it, I was like, why are these people not wanting us to read books? But the idea is that we can get displayed. We can get splayed. Our intelligence is getting displayed. And sometimes by going very, very wide, we don't go very, very deep.
Yeah, and so it's fun to dabble and it's fun to explore, but really at a certain point you got to focus. Like I tell people, someone's just asking me even about Prabhupada's books. I said, here's the four books if you read, and it's interesting how he kind of when he came to America, he had the first canto of the Bhagavatam done, right? Just just the first canto. He had then the next thing was Bhagavad Gita. Then he didn't know if he would survive to translate the 10th canto of Bhagavatam, right? He didn't know if he would live that long because it's such a long translation. So he did
Krishna book.
Krishna book, which is the 10th canto. It's like telling the 10th canto of the Bhagavatam like in a story type of format. And then he didn't know if he would be around to do the Chaitanya Charitamrita. So he took the 5 most important conversations that Sri Chaitanya has in that: conversations with Ramananda Roy, conversation with Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, Prakashananda Saraswati, Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami. You put those in one book called The Teachings of Lord Chaitanya. Now, right there, you take those 4, even just the first canto of Bhagavatam, the Krishna book, the Nectar of Devotion, and I didn't mention that, and the Teachings of Lord Chaitanya. Right there, really, if you had no more books in your life, that would be plenty.
Wow.
That's all you would need to practice this.
I never thought of it like that. I really like the way you summed that up.
Because he didn't know if he was going to live long enough. So these are the books he put out. He wanted to make sure that people had what they needed. And with those books, you have a very thorough understanding of Vedanta, of Bhakti, and ultimately of Gaudiya Vaishnavism. Like it's kind of all there. So at a certain point, it's great to dabble, and I'm sure lots of our listeners have interest. I have interest, and I also like to read all different kind of books and so on. But I have one practice, and you focus on that practice, and you go deep into it. So here we see that Lord Shiva, he's what we're reading in Bhagavatam. He's instructing the Prachetas. He gave them one meditation. He didn't give them like a whole smorgasbord. To focus on this, and they focused on that one meditation for a very, very, very long time. They didn't go wide; they went deep.
Thank you, Kaustubha. Very beautiful. Alrighty, I think we're ready. Want to pull it up? Or...
you want to pull it up on you?
Yeah, you working for me. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam mudirayat. Some of you don't know that prayer yet. Learn it. Mara, put it on the board, maybe. Okay. How's it go? No, I just did that. Before I started the stream, my body was which is our very means of conquest. One should offer respectful obeisances to the Supreme Lord Narayan. Unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being. See this? Mother Saraswati has taken away my intelligence for criticizing everyone. Unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being. Unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning. And to Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta prayeshva badreshu nityam bhagavat sevaya. Bhagavati uttama bhakti bhavati naistiki. By regular attendance in classes in the Bhagavatam and by rendering service to the pure devotees, all that is troublesome in the heart will become eradicated. And loving service to the Supreme Lord, who is praised with transcendental songs, will be established as an irrevocable fact. Om Agyana Tamarandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chaksurun Medatam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, and my teachers opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my obeisances at their lotus feet. Reading. Mara, hit it.
Reading from Canto 4, Chapter 24, Text 70.
Text 70. Therefore, O son of the king, O sons of the king. Right? How many of them are there? Prachetas?
I think there's 9 or 10. I think 9.
O sons of the king, the supreme personality of Godhead, Hari, is situated in everyone's heart. He is also within your hearts. Therefore, chant the glories of the Lord and always meditate upon him continuously. That's our focus. Right?
Yeah.
My dear princes.
Whoa, we're moving on. Quick.
You got to keep moving on. Oh, big old jet.
So why don't we look at this a bit? We just heard yesterday that he gave the Prachetas an instruction, and Prabhupada was trying to help highlight like what the point of it was, like what the significance of it was. And that what he said yesterday in text 69 was just chant this prayer, fixing your mind on Krishna. It'll bring all good fortune to you. but at the same time, execute your duty as kings with a pure heart, right? That's the formula that we're getting here, right? In other words, there are other yogic paths where you walk away from your duties in life. I want you to do your duties. That may seem, for a real serious yogi, that may seem, oh no, I got to enter into that world. You know, what to speak of being, you know, like a big leader. Do it, but accompany it with this meditation. Purify your heart. Most people operate in this world with a motive, with a selfish motive. Purify yourself of that selfish motive, and with a pure heart, carry out your occupational duties. We all have duties. Don't walk away from carrying them out. Now here he's saying that Krishna is in your heart, right? The Lord is within your heart. So that's where the purification comes. That's when you keep your mind focused there, your mind stays pure. I want to pull up something from the Gita. Yeah.
No, you're going to find many tabs open to the same place with me.
Well, I put these up yesterday.
Oh.
But in the 13th chapter, there's so many just beautiful, excellent descriptions of the paramatma. What, you know, how to understand the paramatma. A lot of the verses sound kind of paradoxical. Right.
Tell me.
He's the source of all light and all luminous objects. He is beyond the darkness of matter. He is unmanifested. He is knowledge. He's the object knowledge. He's the goal of knowledge. He is situated in everyone's heart. The supreme truth exists outside and inside of all living beings, the moving and the non-moving, right? In the plants, as well as in the animals, as well as in the humans. Because he is subtle, he is beyond the power of the material senses to know. Although far, far away, he is also near to all. So it goes on and on like this with these paradoxical things. But then it comes to this, it's really one of my, to me, this is a verse that I think about a lot. I want you to think about it, Raghunath, okay? One who can see. No, hold it.
Here, find it. Mara, you think I really get no benefit for adding a little nut pod? You really think that? Or a little maple syrup, really?
I do. I think it breaks your fast.
Oh, well, that's the whole thing, because we're fasting for Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, exactly.
Oh, no. Oh, you're talking about something. It's not that, huh? It's Bhaktivinoda Thakur's birthday. You fast for half a day. Okay, I'll just read a few. Oh, this is the one. Text 29, chapter 13. You ready? Come on.
Yeah. Yes.
One who sees the Supersoul, the paramatma, equally present everywhere, in every living being, does not degrade themselves by their mind. Thus, they approach the transcendental destination. That's my point, right? This is like Bruce Lee. Focus on God within the heart. When you understand God and when you feel God, when you have to bring your mind there, it's not going to happen automatically. You have to make that effort. It has to be a focused effort. It has to be laser-like focus, right?
I mean, that's the whole idea of sadhana. After a while, it just becomes habitual. Like anything. If you miss your morning run, if you miss your morning yoga, if you miss your morning, if you're, skipping breakfast, it's just part of your, a daily routine, and it just becomes normalized. That's our chanting japa is almost like it's like pounding or, drinking in the holy name. Ever chant like 32 rounds or 50 rounds on a special holiday, and then like you put your bead bag down, and through the course of the day, you're just chanting in your mind all day long. It's one of those things, like our sadhana is specially designed for the Krishna stuff to stick in the mind, and that we bring it with us wherever we go. And when you do this year after year, and then decade after decade, and then you just can't help. I mean, some of you can see it already, that you just start seeing Krishna everywhere. And that's the idea, whether you're working, whether you're playing, whether you're sleeping, whether you're dreaming, whether you're playing with your kids, Krishna's just somehow there now. It's not a part-time religion where, okay, we're going to have my material life, and now I'm going to go to church for an hour and a half once a week. No, it's like you bring it through it's like the thread that runs through the entire day, 7 days a week, morning, noon, and night.
I'm thinking like Prabhupada here.
What? Oh, here's the purport. The word asakrit is significant, for it means not just for a few minutes, but continuously. That is the instruction given by Lord Chaitanya in his Shikshastakam, Kirtaniya Sadahari. The holy name of the Lord should be chanted 24 hours daily. I'm thinking like Prabhupada. I just said that. Therefore, in this Krishna consciousness movement, we request the devotees to chant at least 16 rounds on their beads daily. Actually, want us to chant 24 hours a daily, just like Thakur Haridas, who was chanting the Hare Krishna mantra 300,000 times daily. What? Indeed, he had no other business. Pretty interesting, huh? What do you do for a living? Chant.
That's all I do.
That's all I do.
That'd be real simple. I'll give you
That was it. We're done.
Well, I was just going to share something. I've been chanting Maha Mantra for something like 35 years.
I don't know. Give me one good one. No, I'm just joking.
No, but well, you see, that's where I think what your explanation in the beginning. No, you chant one mantra over and over and over again. That's what it's calling to do, not like to think, oh, I need 20 different mantras. No, you just chant that one mantra. You go deep and don't go wide, go deep. But my point is this: in one sense, I've gone deep because I've just been focused on that one mantra. But in another sense, I know. I've read the descriptions. I've thought about it. I've meditated about. I've heard again and again the descriptions of the bhakti yogis who, when they chant that name, they're actually deeply absorbed in it, and they feel that the transformational effects that are there from it. I know I'm not there. I often feel like I'm very far away from it. Right. I feel very removed from that level of chanting. One might get discouraged, right? One might think, is this working? I've been doing it for so long, but I have the faith. that it is working. And I had this one experience one time where we were doing that retreat we used to do retreats at this place. What's it called?
Pumpkin Hollow.
Pumpkin Hollow in upstate New York. And they have this barn, nice barn, and we could do programs in that barn. And I was kind of by friends, kind of in a friendly way, kind of pressured to take this particular to participate in this particular event. You know what it was?
My yoga class, or
no? It was called prema breathwork.
Oh,
right?
prema breathwork. You did the prema breathwork,
Yeah.
which is holotropic breathing.
Oh, okay. It's so yeah. It was like, it's not really my kind of thing, honestly, right? And it's like you would lie down, but it was friends of mine doing it. I loved them. They were encouraging me to do it. I did it. And so I lie down. They make you go through these breathing exercises. Maybe you can describe it a little, because
It's just like a sort of like a lot of hyperventilation and waiting, and then
you're back and forth.
Back and forth. It goes on for an hour though.
Yeah.
It creates different like reactions in the body and like cleansing of the body. And sometimes you cry, or sometimes you moan, or sometimes you groan, or sometimes
I think they ask
giggle.
you to yell or something like that, right?
Yeah.
So in any case,
I'm trying to chant my jop on the other side of here. Whoa! I was like, where am I, in like in a haunted house? Yeah.
So anyway, I went through the whole thing, but my point is this: at a certain point, you just lie there and you're silent for a long time.
Yeah.
And I was lying there silent for a long time. And it was only after I'd been in it for 10 minutes or something, I realized in my mind, I'd been chanting Maha Mantra nonstop the entire time. And it made me think that even though my absorption is weak, I have faith that could flip overnight someday. I could receive a blessing and that could change, or I can overcome some attachments that I have, or weaknesses that I have, or hangups that I have that are preventing me from that day can come, that sun will rise one day. I have that faith. But it was also encouraging me just to know that I've chanted and vibrated that mantra within my mind and within my throat and within my body so many times that it's there, it's there in the background of the vibration of my body, or the vibration of my mind, that it's there. And I think that's something. And we hear about, it is said that these great saints, right, these great sadhus, that some of them, they're chanting 24 hours a day. It's even there. It's like theirs in their body. When Haridas Thakura, it's to mention, we just read in the commentary that Raghunath read, Haridas Thakura was mentioned. Haridas Thakura Very fascinating character. You want to tell us a little bit about him?
Yeah. Haridas Thakura was a, he was from this is the time during the Mughal Muslim invasion of India. So they were all the colonists, and they took, they were a minority that took control of the majority violently through like a decimation of tens of thousands of people. So, and they were sort of like fanatical leaders. So they tolerated Hinduism.
Like the Taliban.
Yeah.
On steroids, maybe even, it was like, it was brutal.
It was brutal. Kirtans went on privately, quietly. And that was a big thing about Lord Chaitanya, why he got criticized by like villagers, like, why is he singing so loud?
To get all the Hindus in trouble.
Yeah. So Haridas Thakura was of a Muslim birth, but he just started studying the Vedic teachings, especially the teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And it's very open gated. It's very wide gated. The fact that, where everybody's a spirit soul. Religion is just a name. Everybody's a spirit soul. The Maha Mantra is made to liberate the soul. Doesn't matter what religion you're from. And he just took it very, very seriously. And he associated with very spiritually conscious, broad-minded people. And he became incredibly brutalized by his own government because he wouldn't give up chanting. He was just like, why would I give this up? This is the thing that everybody, the whole world needs this. And so he led like an amazing life. He became the Acharya of chanting the holy name. And it was a perfect demonstration of how, in that culture of India, caste system was very important. It's a material concept of caste. Like, we are the renunciates, we are from the Brahminical families, we worship the deities, we are the holders of knowledge, we will distribute it to you, and you are a laborer, you can come to us. So caste system was an important part of that society, but he was out of the caste system. He wasn't even in the caste system. He was from an invading culture, cultures that ate meat, cultures that were they considered sort of uncivilized, yet he was promoted. This is the thing about Vaishnavism. It's the worship of Vishnu. It's transcends the concept of caste. There is a reason why caste exists in the material world. It got perverse over the decades or the centuries. But in Vaishnavism, it's a much a lesser importance. Because why? Because we're not a caste, because we're not this body. And so he was promoted to a very, very high level within spiritual circles. Lord Chaitanya even said things like, I value you more than my own body. Your existence means more to me than my own life. Incredible things.
I was thinking that it's specifically illustrated in books like you take a book like the Chaitanya Charitamrita, which again is the biography of Sri Chaitanya, but it's also a book that's laying out. You see, the books prior to that in our lineage were all written in Sanskrit. So this was a book, it's a Bengali lineage, and it was written in Bengali. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it not only gives his biography, but it summarizes the theology and the philosophy of Gaudiya Vaishnavism. Not even summarize, actually at length it explains him. And so it becomes a very important book now in the Bengali, language, so that it can be spread widely. What messages were shared in that book? One of the real important messages that shared through the life of Haridas Thakura was that, here was a person, you're born in a Muslim family, means you're born among the meat eaters, you're born among the people that followed no rituals, that had no Vedic knowledge. It's not, as you're saying, it's not even within the caste system, not even within Varnashram Dharma. But here, what Sri Chaitanya did was, not only Sri Chaitanya, Advaita Acharya, right? Advaita Acharya was the leader amongst the Bhakti Yogis. He was from a Brahmana family. And he personally, like when he did the Shraddha ceremony, the death of his own father, the way the ritual works is that when you're done with the ritual, then you feed all of the Brahmanas, or you feed the most exalted person first. You honor one elder, like the person that's most honorable, you feed them first. And he did it with Haridas Thakura. Now that raised a lot of eyebrows, right? But something that was being illustrated, that it has nothing to do with anyone's birth. It has to do with the depth of one's devotion. That's what really matters. So Haridas Thakura had tremendous devotion. As you mentioned, became the Acharya, the main teacher of the chanting of the holy name, which is the Yuga Dharma.
I think the story also becomes really relevant for us because we might have had we're all born, most of us are born outside of a Vedic system, or at least we've had a past outside the Vedic system, no matter where we're at now. And some of us are very strict with the way we live our life spiritually. And maybe perhaps we're all zipped up, but most of us have had a past. And the important thing to understand here is our past is our past. It's over. And as soon as we like turn our life towards spirit, there is a magical reciprocation. We have had, it's a new birth for us. And we should think of this as our new life. Sometimes the past, I can like ruin my present just by living in my past and thinking about my past. But that past isn't now finished. Now we've like moved our life towards spirit and we want to identify ourselves. My past is dead and over. Now I have it. That's why in our culture, there's a new name. You get a new name. It recognizes your new birth. And I have new activities, new thoughts, new habits. We're sort of rebirthing ourselves all the time. You know, another thing we were mentioning that chanting, also when we hear the relevance, what's the relevance of chanting 300,000 names a day and stuff like that? The process is purifying the consciousness. I've got a lot of stuff, crazy stuff stored up in this mind of mine. And so my meditation becomes my reality. My focus becomes my reality. And it's sometimes very evident when you start hanging out with people who've dedicated their lives to spiritual things for so long, and you're very green or very new. I know when I was a brand new devotee, I was visiting a farm once, and I was with a family, and we were doing something I can't remember. Sitting in a cargo van, and early in the morning, and there was two little Krishna kids, you know, chanting on beads, you know, and I'm the clunky, you know, 22-year-old trying to chant, and the mother and the father in the front seat, and I'm just sort of sticking my head between the windshield trying to like look around, and we're driving through these country roads, windy country roads, and we're all just chanting japa. It's like, you know, the sun is rising very early in the morning, and out of nowhere, a giant buck, a giant deer with horns and antlers rather, jumped right in front of the truck, the van, and we just missed it, just like swerved and missed it. And everyone simultaneously, like a chorus, said, Krishna. It was like so like unbelievable. It's like an orchestra punch, like Krishna. And I just went, oh, you know, I just cursed at the loudest as I could. And they all said Krishna. I was like, oh, I get it. I know what's going through their mind, Krishna. And I'm just working to get my mind that with, you know, that is my default, that in times of great tragedy, stress, I have something transcendental coming out of my mouth. What the heck is rolling out of my lips?
Like you've got a computer that's programmed for that for that impulsive response,
right?
You know, you've got all kind of, and their program, and it's because, you know, they've chanted and meditated and heard, you know, and it's because they've dug deep, you know, in one place, that it's actually having an effect. And the reason why I mentioned Haridas Thakura was you mentioned that. First of all, I thought we should even just mention that one interesting story was, you know, whenever someone starts to get deeply spiritual, like for real, generally they become the object of envy or fear of other people, right? It's a very common theme.
Super, very common. Oh, they're spiritual. They're a bunch of fakers. These guys can't be that spiritual, because it threatens my spirituality or even my complete lack of spirituality. When anybody does anything great, they become the object of envy.
So the leader of the, I don't know if it's like the kind of the village or the town or the city or whatever it was that Haridas Thakura was living in, began to see this is really bad. This is one of us, a Muslim, who's taken up the Hindu practices, and he's becoming big and famous. It makes us look bad, right? It looks like, oh, they got something better going on, and now everybody's following him. And, you know, it's threatening our political power, our influence, and so on. So the Muslim leader came up with a plan.
Well, at first it was like he imprisoned him. If he wouldn't stop.
That was later. I'm talking about the earlier time. Plan I'm talking about?
What plan?
came up with a plan. I will send a
Oh, the
prostitute.
prostitute plan, the old prostitute trick. Some of you have also fallen for that same trick. He sent the prostitute to try to tempt him. And so they picked a prostitute. He would just sit alone in a cave and just chant. And so they sent the prostitute, and he would and the prostitute would go to him and said, "Oh, you are such a handsome, renowned, stalwart man. Will you please satisfy my desires?" And he looked at her and said, "I will gladly satisfy your desires, but I first made a commitment to this type of meditation. Just wait for me, and I will, when I'm done, I will surely satisfy your desires." And then he just chanted all day long, all night long into the night. And the woman just sort of fell asleep. And finally, she's just like, "I'm going to bed." And she took off, went home, and they sent her back again the next day. She said, "I didn't satisfy you. Please forgive me. Please wait here and chant." This happened like 3 days in a row. He just kept on chanting all day and all night. I think it was like by the third day, she understood this man's a saintly person. And this is what happens whenever you hang out with a saintly person. You either become disgusted and despise them, and in so doing so hate yourself, or something rubs off on you. Something rubs off on you where it affects you in a deep way. And if you could probably think of your own spiritual path, it's because you met somebody that has affected you, said one phrase perhaps, read one sentence perhaps, or maybe just went on a trip, with, and something happened. You didn't even know the guy was that spiritual. The lady was that spiritual. You went on a trip with them, and all of a sudden they said something that touched you in a deep way. And it's that association of great souls that affected you, huh? Is that true? Yeah. Write that person's name on the board right now, Zoomers. Who was that person for you?
And so yeah, and so it's what happened. The prostitute goes back, and she begins to be so moved by the devotion of Haridas Thakura, and so transformed by the potency of his mantra, that she gave up the whole idea of her mission, and she just became his disciple. And she became a renunciate, actually. She shaved her head. She sat there in that hut. He left his hut, gave his hut to her, and she just continued chanting there. And he left the town. He's like, I'm creating some issue here. I'm creating some problem. You stay here. She stayed there and chanted, and he walked off. And so the Chaitanya Charitamrita glorifies him at great length. This whole chapter is dedicated to him. Tomorrow is actually the day that he disappeared, the day that he passed away. A lot of times you read that chapter from Chaitanya Charitamrita. It's nice. But getting to the other point that you made, later in his life, he was captured, imprisoned for his faith, for not giving up chanting this mantra. And then they ordered him. They said, "Look, you're Muslim by birth. You're one of us, really. You just stop this chanting, and we'll let you go free." And he said, "You could let me go, but I can't stop chanting." He said, "You can imprison me. I can't stop chanting." He said, "You could chop my body into 1,000,000 pieces, and every one of those little pieces will be chanting." But I think that's not only, I think it's not merely like a what do you call it, like a phrase that he was saying, but I think he's saying my entire body is vibrating this mantra 24 hours a day. I've gone so deep into this path, right? I've dug this well so deep that this mantra is just vibrating throughout my body, throughout my mind, 24 hours a day, which is what Prabhupada was calling on here, right? So when we hear Prabhupada say that, we think, well, you really can't do that, but in a sense you can. And the deeper that the way that the bhakti yoga kind of culture works is, as you get older. I told you that story once when I went to have the Radha Krishna deities carved for the Broome Street Temple. I went to Jaipur, and I went to the place where this incredibly talented sculptor had sculpted the deities the beautiful deities that are in so many of the different ISKCON temples around the world.
Isn't it interesting? Like, if you're a sculptor, but you're not sculpting for Krishna, I'd feel like, what a waste of my talent. If you're a sculptor out there, I want you to start making beautiful deities for Krishna. It's the same thing. You could do the same thing. You still get to sculpt, but you make deities. What a perfection of your art. I mean,
you could think about how many years this man did it. So it was Pandey and Son was the place. And
Well, it's generational. In India, at least, these are family traditions that get passed down for generations. There's phases of the moon where you carve the deities as well.
Yeah.
There's particular types of marble that you get. It's not just like there's something about the family knows that certain stone has like a life force in it. You ever heard that?
yeah. I don't know if every Mortiwala is that focused, but there's certain ones that are, or when they're doing it for certain important temples, they key in on that kind of thing.
Like that, the Nrsingadev. You know the story about the Nrsingadev deity in Mayapur. They couldn't. There was like, when are they going to get this deity? We need to install this deity. And the guy who was making the deity said, "No, I'm waiting for the right stone. It's going to be the right exact stone. You can't just. You're not just carving rock here."
That's right. So I went and I went to that place to get these deities of Radha and Krishna made. And when I got there, the man who had for so many years sculpted so many exceptionally beautiful Radha and Krishna deities, he was retired. He was and the sons, as you're saying, it's Pandey and Sons. So his sons were now carrying on the business. And where was he? He was sitting in front of the shop on the sidewalk, right? He's got these
Coke bottle.
like double Coke bottle, like glass, because you can imagine like his work for so many years involved such intense visual focus, the detail and everything. He's sitting out there with his big Coke bottle glasses on. He's got his japa mala in his hand, his beads, and he's just chanting. And you could just see, this is what this man, you come back the next day, come back a few weeks later, see, there he is sitting there chanting. You get to that point in life, is you practice this chanting. Maybe it's hard for us. Maybe it feels unfulfilling. Like, I don't know if this is going anywhere. Even I've been doing it for years. I don't know. Keep digging deep. It's like, imagine what it's like to dig a well. You're digging. I don't know if I'm ever going to hit water. No. It's down there. You got to keep digging. Sooner or later, you're going to strike that water. So, the way that this culture was designed was that as you get older, your family does take over the business. You retire, and you've been practicing all along, but now you're practicing without a lot of the pressures that you had before, business pressures, financial pressures, competition, or all of, as well as you've let go of sexuality. Like, that was a thing of the past. You did it, been there, done that. It was great. Okay. But now I'm moving on to another part of life. And it's at this stage that you also let go of a lot of your attachments, a lot of your, whatever hangups or whatever animosity you have to other people. You're like, why did I even get so upset about that? It's not important to me anymore. I had different competitors in life. I'm letting go and all that. You're getting old, and now you're getting into that mantra. And now you're chanting like Mahaprabhu said, more humble than a blade of grass, more tolerant than, a tree, not needing any respect from anyone. I'm not in that competitive world anymore.
What people think about me is
Doesn't
so
matter.
important.
And showing respect to every living being in this state. Now you're going to strike that water. Now you're going to chant that mantra in the full effect. We have to have that faith. You stick with it. You dig deep, and then that mantra will be vibrating in you 24 hours a day.
By the way, if you're new to chanting mantras on malas, try it. Make a little commitment, one round of the Maha Mantra a day on your malas, and see what happens. And you know what? And you probably, if you've been in this game even a little while, you know that I get some sweet taste by something that's not so, exciting. It's actually very subtle. The excitement is very subtle, and we get a sweet taste. It's almost like God is luring us in. He gives us a little taste. We're like, oh, this is great. Oh, I love this. Oh, this is happy. I went to the ashram. I heard a kirtan. I chanted one good round. I read this. I heard an episode. Whatever it is, we get some sweet taste. It touches our heart and it inspires us. And then you're all excited. And then all of a sudden it goes away. And in that going away, you start to question, was that even real? Did I create that? It was real. That's where you have to, when it goes away, that's when you have to push forward. You got to keep pushing, keep the focus, keep that, whatever it is, one round a day, reading every day, hearing the podcast every day. It's got it. And then you get baited again. Oh, it is sweet. I was right. It is really sweet. I am getting something very something very, very substantial, something very, very fueling from something very subtle. And you feel that joy, you laugh, you cry, you sing, you tell your friends, and then it goes away again. And what's happening is you are slowly getting lured out of the material world, because every time you up the ante, you're adding more spirit, right? If
Dig
I'm
deeper.
you got to go deeper, and it's divinity asking to add more to your life, add more to your life. Now you could say, well, this is just like any other addiction. No, it's different. In one sense, yes, it is. So like eventually the addiction consumes you, but this addiction, as you're getting more and more into it, look who you're becoming. Look what you're letting go of. Look what your new desires and attractions are for. And look at the petty things you're letting go. Look how peaceful you've become. It is the same in one sense as any other addiction, but the result is much different than being addicted to alcohol, being addicted to any type of drug, being addicted to food, etc., being addicted to shopping. Yeah. I don't know how that ended. There's something else important to say, but I can't remember. What were you talking about? What were you just talking about?
Digging deep, chant that mantra. You're going to grow older, even if
Oh,
you're
yeah.
not feeling it right now.
Right. I was just saying,
just stick with it. Keep digging that
Yeah.
hole. You'll hit that water.
when I was listening to you, I was like, there's another wake up call too. And I'm experienced this because I'm just, north of 50 this year. I'm 56, and a lot of my friends who I grew up with when we were Krishna conscious as young men in our 20s and stuff like that, we're all getting to this age where our kids are getting older. And some of us, our kids have left the house. And these are signs, or getting ready to leave the house. And these are signs. It's time to get very, very serious about our spiritual life. It's sort of like when you're, 19 or something, and you just graduated high school a couple of years ago, and you're like, and you hear that somebody from your high school class has died, and you're like, oh my God, did you hear they died? It's this huge thing. Or if it happens if you're in high school, somebody dies in your high school, it's like shocking. You have a big assembly. It's very out of the blue and very shocking, and maybe it didn't even happen to you. When you start to be getting 56, everyone's dying. And then when you're 70, like my mom always says things like, all my friends are dead. My mom's like 95. She's like, everybody's dead. I'm hanging out with a bunch of 80-year-olds because all my friends are all dead. So as we get older, we start to realize this death thing is a real thing. It actually happens. It's not a random act. And it's time to get serious. And what does that mean? And who are the people in my life that I trust that I can inquire? Listen, my kids are all moved out of my house now. How should I turn it up on my spiritual life? Hey, listen, my youngest is 16. The other, what does that mean for me in my spiritual life? How can I add more spirit to my life? Let retirement not be just like golfing my way away to oblivion where I can just forget. Let it be getting more focused on me as a spiritual being. Kaustubha was saying, I give up my identity of this world. I'm this sexual being. I'm this famous being. I'm this person of this position. I was the CFO of this. Okay, those were all our identities with a small I, a lowercase I. There is and now there's a new identity, and I really want to connect. And I always knew I was a spiritual being. I get that. But now that what am I with a capital I, that real identity, now that has to come to the forefront of my life.
I like it. I think we got a theme here, Raghunath, and it has to do with that digging deep, right? And digging deep and when you're digging that well, again, it's hard work, and you worry, am I ever going to hit that water? I've been digging for so long. So we're talking about two things here. We're talking about, and both things are being mentioned in this verse. We're talking about chanting a mantra, right? That you chant that mantra, you have faith in it. It's not that you don't feel anything, you don't ever have any great experiences from it, but still it's challenging. Will I ever chant that name and tears will come from my eyes? My voice will choke up. I'll get goosebumps and I'll feel waves of love for God, washing back and forth over, my body. When will that day come? There are prayers, there are songs. When will that day come? But also this idea of finding God within the heart. Now I once read a very interesting description in a book written about the worship of the deity Arjuna, right? Like, in other words, the temple worship in the deities, why people worship these forms, why they perform these rituals with these forms. It's a meditation, right? And the idea is that what was said in that book was to find God in the heart is challenging. It takes a long time. It's like digging a very deep well. Whereas when you see this form, it's like a pond or something, like the water's right on the surface. So you're seeing God right now, right here in an easier way. But we read in the Bhagavatam that the point of doing the ritual with the carved form is so that it helps you find God within your own heart. That's where it's all meant to go, right? And that's where Bhagavatam again and again is sending us, and Lord Shiva is sharing that right now with the Prachetas. Now, Prabhupada speaks a little bit about that here at the end of the commentary.
Last part of the commentary here. The words Atmanam, Atmanam Stam, Atmastam, Sarva Bhutesh, Avishtatam are also significant. The personality of Godhead, it's a great phrase. The personality of Godhead is the origin of all living entities. What came first, the chicken or the egg? The personality of Godhead. We've got the answer. You want answers?
From him came the chicken, and from him came the egg.
Boom, simple. It's all done. Anybody ask you that question? We got you covered here. Because the living entities are parts and parcels of the Lord, he is the Father of all of them. One can search out the Supreme Lord very easily within one's heart, for he is situated in every living entity's heart. In this verse, the process of worshiping the Lord is considered to be very easy and complete, for anyone can sit down anywhere in any condition of life and simply chant the holy names of the Lord. By chanting or hearing, one automatically engages in meditation. And it's so true. The things we understand, that the words have power. The words that we say on a regular basis affect our mind. You know, words of appreciation, words of gratitude, words of encouragement, they affect our consciousness. They affect our emotional stability. They affect my countenance, how I feel about myself. And the same, the words of deprecation, of cruelty, of criticism, they affect me in a deep way too. The yogis understood the power of sound. And if we could just harness this sound, so that the sounds out of our mouth are transcendental and uplifting and encouraging, we have just actually transformed ourselves. We are in the process of recreating our being. And that's a lot of work, because I've been trained the other way to do other things. Now I'm going to look at the nut pod thief. Oh, capturer of my nut pot.
I'll be taking the mic now.
He's lost it. All right, we have some takeaways today. If Raga can get it
thank you,
together.
Let me mute this microphone for a moment here. Take it
All
away,
right.
Mara.
Starve your distractions, feed your focus.
Yeah.
Don't go wide, go deep.
Yeah.
Purify yourself of selfish desires.
Maple syrup.
It's not a part-time religion.
Nope.
Bhakti runs through your day, all day, every day.
24 hours a day.
The depth
Bhakti, Srimad Bhagavatam, 24 hours a day.
The depths of one's devotion is what matters.
That's right.
Yeah.
Don't let the past ruin your present.
Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one.
Association with great souls can change your life.
Really does. Really does.
Keep digging.
Keep digging.
Keep digging.
Harness transcendental sound to transform. And free the nut pods.
Free the nut pods, please.
How about can you dig it?
Can
You dig it? Maybe that should be our title for it. What do you think? Can you dig it?
Give the boy. How about give the boy a nut pod? Did you see that one?
Give the boy a nut pod.
Give the boy. Thanks, everyone.
Not a nut pod.